what's their business? Is that about the high unemployment in this country? Is that about lack of food on the tables and the kitchen of the poor? Is that about electricity that they cannot even properly privatize, blackmailing the honorable minister and forcing somebody to resign because they want to turn it to family patrimony? Is that the cause of infrastructure that is lacking in this country? Is that, shouldn't we even share knowledge, acquire knowledge to really understand what a nation needs?
This is President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in 2012. That was about 14 years ago when he was lambasting President Goodluck Jonathan. You hear everything in the talk. He talk about employment. He talk about food. He talk about electricity. Now ask yourself, what has he done? After 14 years, you've been given the mantle of leadership. The opportunity is right there in your table. What have you done with it? Yet, you know what we talk. You forget, say, you did lend your voice during President Goodluck Jonathan. You did castigate our government. But when we talk, you go carry DSS, they chase us up and down. The electricity where you promised now, where you did lambast Goodluck Jonathan for 14 years ago, you don't do 4 years or 3 years plus. Have you been able to fix it? The unemployment where you talk about now, how many more jobs you don't create? You talk about hunger, food and all that. How many food you don't produce? For this country with the production, don't go down. A lot of companies don't shut down, leave Nigeria. Now because of you, because of your party APC, because of even Buhari said don't come better past you. One are there outside, when they run on our mouth, and they run on up and down. Now they don't give you the opportunity. You have the mantle of leadership. You can't even do anything. You surround yourself with sycophants. You think they are helping you. They are bringing your government down. I understand. See, when a man is young, vibrant, he has a lot of things upstairs. But when a man don't the old, those things when they get for up, they subdue. That is called diminishing return in economics. It is certain. The way you function when you're young, that's not how you function when you're old. Bola Ahmed Tinubu is old. He cannot do anything. Whatever you are seeing now, he can't do more than what he's doing now. That's just the fact. But a lot of them not go want to say because of the APC. I'm not even knowing the game for these governments. Nigeria is turning from bad to worse on a daily basis. Go to our hospitals and see what is happening. Go to our public schools and see what is happening. Look at our federal roads. What have they done for you that you are supporting these governments? The other day I saw Cubana chief priest and Obi Cubana, they are singing on your mandate we shall stand. On what mandate? On Bola Ahmed Tinubu mandate? Is this what you call mandate? Mandate of poverty? Mandate of selfish interest? Mandate of wickedness? Mandate of corruption? Mandate where criminality, they parade themselves as politicians? Is that what you call mandate? Is that what you want to stand on? I don't get it. Where do we go from here? Funny enough, now we be the poor. Now they take the cash cruise. Now they support them. You go see one nitwit when you never eat 3 square me come my comment section come insult me because of this my video. Now sometimes I don't want to feel sorry for now. I get a lot of them from my inbox. They beg money to eat. Before they give them 3,000, 2,000, I've stopped giving them because then they can't constitute nuisance. We want you guys to suffer so that you have sense. And whose mandate are you standing? This one, now mandate be this one. You they run your maths 2012. Now they don't give you the mantle. Oh yeah, now alpha. You do video where they do campaign, your blueprint. I owe that one. Like I put up for my armpits. I don't ever forget that. You say after your 4 years, if you don't give us electricity, Baba, we could not vote for you, we could not bring you back. And now why me I look see, I need to support anybody to bring you back. Oh. You don't deserve coming back. What have you done? What have you done? What are your blueprints? Show us now what you don't do now. Now infrastructure. What you don't do? You see this country. But at the end of the day, like I used to say, we go learn. Peace and love.
When public debate becomes loud, emotional, and repetitive, it is often a sign that deeper questions are being ignored. The questions raised in this statement are not new, but they remain unresolved, and that is precisely why they continue to surface in public discourse. What is the real business of leadership in a country facing widespread unemployment, persistent food insecurity, fragile infrastructure, and declining public trust? Is governance meant to be a performance of power, or is it meant to be a disciplined responsibility grounded in results? These are not rhetorical questions designed to provoke anger, they are structural questions that define whether a nation is moving forward or standing still. If you're listening to this analysis and you value calm, evidence-based discussion, take a moment to subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts in the comments, because conversations like this require many voices, not just one. Unemployment is often treated as a statistic, but in reality, it is a lived experience. It is the graduate who sends out hundreds of applications without a response. It is the skilled worker who accepts informal labor below their capacity. It is the family that adjusts expectations downward year after year. When political actors ask, what is their business, in reference to critics or civil society, the implicit response should be simple: the business of citizens is survival, dignity, and opportunity. When unemployment remains high over long periods, it signals more than economic difficulty, it signals policy failure, weak industrial planning, and inadequate coordination between education, labor markets, and private investment. No amount of rhetoric can substitute for job creation driven by sustainable productivity. This is not about blaming one individual, but about examining continuity between promises and outcomes. Food insecurity follows a similar pattern. Hunger is rarely the result of a single bad harvest or an isolated crisis. It is usually the cumulative effect of inflation, declining purchasing power, disrupted supply chains, and insufficient agricultural support. When people ask whether leadership discussions address lack of food on the tables, they are pointing to a mismatch between policy language and household reality. Economic growth figures mean little if they do not translate into affordable food, stable incomes, and predictable prices. The measure of success is not how often leaders speak about food security, but whether markets reflect abundance and accessibility. If you agree that these issues deserve deeper analysis, don't forget to like this video and share it with others who care about long-term solutions rather than short-term slogans. Electricity is another recurring theme, and for good reason. Power supply is not merely an infrastructure issue, it is a foundational input into almost every sector of the economy. Manufacturing, healthcare, education, digital services, and small businesses all depend on reliable electricity. The statement raises a critical observation: even privatization, often presented as a solution, can fail when implementation lacks transparency, regulation, and accountability. Privatization without performance benchmarks simply transfers inefficiency from the public sector to private monopolies. When electricity remains unstable despite reforms, it raises questions about governance frameworks, tariff structures, investment incentives, and institutional capacity. These are technical issues, but they have very human consequences, and avoiding them does not make them disappear. The mention of political pressure, alleged blackmail, and forced resignations introduces another dimension of governance: institutional integrity. When public offices are perceived as family assets or political rewards rather than public trust, institutions weaken. Even the perception of such behavior can damage confidence. Healthy political systems rely on clear rules, due process, and respect for independent offices. Without this, decision-making becomes personalized, and public interest becomes secondary. Critically analyzing this dynamic is not an attack on democracy, it is a defense of it. Citizens have a right to ask whether power is being exercised for collective benefit or narrow advantage. Infrastructure deficits, from roads to hospitals to schools, are often explained away by history. While historical context matters, it cannot serve as a permanent excuse. Leadership involves inheriting imperfect systems and improving them incrementally. Roads that deteriorate year after year increase transportation costs, isolate communities, and raise the price of goods. Public hospitals that lack equipment and staff push citizens toward private alternatives they cannot afford. Public schools that decay undermine human capital formation and widen inequality, When supporters of any government are asked what tangible improvements justify their loyalty, it is reasonable to expect concrete answers, not emotional defenses. This is where constructive public debate becomes essential, and it's why subscribing and participating in comment discussions helps elevate the quality of conversation. The statement also references past political criticism, particularly during earlier administrations, and asks a simple but powerful question: after many years of critique, what has changed now that leadership responsibility has shifted? In political economy, this is known as the credibility gap. Opposition rhetoric often focuses on problems, but governance demands solutions. Once in power, the same constraints previously criticized become operational realities. This does not absolve leaders of responsibility, rather, it highlights the importance of realistic policy design and institutional learning. If the same issues persist across administrations, it suggests systemic weaknesses that transcend individual leaders. The idea of being given the mantle of leadership is significant. Leadership is not only authority, it is accountability over time. Results are not judged in weeks or months, but in years. If unemployment remains high, if food production declines, if companies shut down or relocate, these trends must be examined honestly. Business closures are influenced by multiple factors, including energy costs, currency stability, security, regulatory burden, and access to finance. When companies exit an economy, the impact is felt through job losses, reduced tax revenue, and diminished investor confidence. Addressing this requires more than political loyalty, it requires policy coherence and trust building. The statement's emotional tone reflects frustration with perceived double standards, particularly regarding freedom of expression. When criticism is tolerated in opposition but discouraged in power, democratic space narrows. A healthy society allows dissent without fear, as long as it remains peaceful and lawful. The role of security institutions should be to protect citizens, not to silence debate. This distinction is crucial for maintaining legitimacy. Encouraging respectful discussion does not weaken governance, it strengthens it. If you believe open dialogue matters, this is a good moment to comment below and add your perspective. There is also a controversial reference to age and leadership capacity, framed through the economic concept of diminishing returns. This is a sensitive area that requires careful handling. Age alone does not determine competence, but leadership effectiveness can be influenced by health, adaptability, and advisory structures. The real issue is not age, but whether decision-making systems are resilient, inclusive, and evidence-driven. Strong institutions compensate for individual limitations, while weak institutions amplify them. This is why governance reform should focus less on personalities and more on systems. Surrounding leadership with sycophancy rather than constructive criticism is a well-documented risk in political science. When leaders receive only positive feedback, policy blind spots grow. Effective governance depends on diverse perspectives, technical expertise, and the willingness to adjust course. Advisors who prioritize loyalty over competence may offer short-term comfort but long-term damage. Recognizing this pattern is not an insult, it is an observation supported by historical examples across many countries. The daily realities described, from struggling hospitals to deteriorating schools, are not abstract. They form the backdrop of citizens' lives. Visiting these institutions provides a clearer picture than official reports alone. Data and lived experience must inform each other. When supporters are asked what specific improvements justify continued support, the answer should ideally include measurable outcomes: reduced travel time, improved exam results, lower mortality rates, increased employment. Emotional allegiance without evidence does little to solve structural problems. Finally, the concept of a mandate deserves reflection. A democratic mandate is not a blank check, it is conditional. It rests on the expectation that power will be exercised to reduce poverty, expand opportunity, and protect rights. When citizens describe their experience as one of increasing hardship, it is a signal that expectations are not being met. Labeling such criticism as disloyalty misses the point. Democracy is sustained not by silence, but by engagement. As this analysis continues, the goal is not to tell you what to think, but to encourage you to ask better questions. If you found value so far, take a second to subscribe, share this video, and leave a comment.